Hello and welcome to this Career Pilot webinar, which is especially for career leaders, looking at how Career Pilot can support you to meet your Gatsby benchmarks. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at Career Pilot as a whole, looking at the whole platform and looking at the 4 zones and how they can support you in meeting specific areas across the benchmarks. So we'll be touching on the student zone, the reporting zone and the advisor zone, and also the parent zone as well. I will also give you a quick overview of our separate tool, the Career Pilot Pathway Planner, which is a triage tool to support you to allocate careers guidance for your students based on their individual needs. So starting with the student zone, this is the student-facing part of Career Pilot, and this is where students would come initially to the main homepage, and they'd be able to log in. You can see at the top right-hand corner where they'll be able to access their career tools. And this is where they're building up their personal profile based on their interests, what sort of course they're doing, what qualifications they're doing. It's all starting to log what they're interested in the career tools, which hopefully will help support them throughout their education and their careers choices. They can also, from this point, view a report that will be generated working with their careers advisor. So that can be seen by themselves here in the career tools, but also can be accessed at the back end by the schools and careers advisors as well. As I say, so that's accessed via the reporting zone, which I'll come on to shortly. So you can also toggle through to the advisor zone and the parent zone directly from the student zone. You can see that just the top left-hand corner. That's where you can access those other zones from the main homepage. Students then can also directly go through to look for jobs, courses, providers, and log their qualifications from the top bar. Or they can follow the 3-stage process, which is really at the heart of the Career Pilot platform, which is about starting with them, exploring their options and planning their next steps. Alternatively, if they know there's a particular pathway that they're interested in, want to find out more about, they can select that and go straight through from the homepage. So just looking at those 3 different stages that they go through, we've got the Start With You that's got a range of different tools for students to have a go at. So whether it's job sector quizzes, looking at jobs related to a favourite subject or to their strengths and values, or completing a skills profile, lots of different activities there to really explore more about themselves in order to help to explore their potential career paths. They can then move through to the Explore Their Options, where they can actually look at the different options open to them. And these are actually phased by age. So they can have a look at their post-14 options, post-16 options, or post-18 options, or explore specific pathways from here. And then the plan the next steps is really helping them to think about, okay, so this is what they want to do, how they're going to get there, what are the next action points. So it might be where they can record an action to go to visit a local college open day or to follow up a particular piece of research that they wanted to do into a particular career path. So as I say, students are generating their own dashboard. So they're basically, when they're using Career Pilot, they're tagging their interests as they go along, and that is generating this report that they can access themselves and you can also see as a school. So really great way to see what your students are interested in, what they're thinking about for job sectors. And this may change over time, but it's a really useful sort of snapshot in time of what they're thinking about at particular points. And as I say, you can also access that report as well that's generated with the careers advisor. So schools then can access more of the data at the back end through the reporting zone. And this looks at the data that's generated by their students' use of Career Pilot. And they can actually run off reports based on groups of students or individual students. So you might like to, as a careers leader, look at your year 12 and see what their job sector choices are. Could be really useful for planning work experience or thinking about speakers that you might be inviting into school. Equally, you could have a look at a particular class and see which tasks have been completed. So if you want to know how many students have actually had a go at doing the job sector quiz, for example, you can quickly see that there. So it's a really useful tool for providing you with the data on how your students are using Career Pilot. In the advisor zone, there are lots of resources to support you as a careers lead, but also subject teachers and tutors in delivering a careers programme across the school. There's also a career leader portal that you can access from the advisor zone, and there's lots of specific information to look at how you can support that whole school careers strategy here. So we've got some maps which is going to pick up some of the content for today's webinar, looking at how you can use specific content to meet certain Gatsby benchmarks. There's also support for completing your compass tool on there as well, and just some top tips on each of the benchmarks and different activities that you could do. So lots there for you to sort of support that whole school strategy. The fourth zone that I also just wanted to mention was the parent zone. So obviously a really great way of bringing in your parents and carers into the conversation and giving them the support to help their young people as they move through school and start thinking about their different options. So we've got lots of different answers to common questions that may come up about the different pathways. So really great place to signpost parents. So I mentioned the Careerpilot Pathway Planner, and I will just give you just a quick overview of what this is, and then I'll go into looking at how Careerpilot overall can be used to meet each of the Gatsby benchmarks. So the Pathway Planner tool can be added on, and this is an additional cost for schools, and I will just touch on that at the end of the webinar. But you can see there it's just been added on to the career tools for the students. So they've got this extra option where they can access the Pathway Planner tool. So you as a school would deliver a lesson where you would explore either the post-16 options or the post-18 options with your students. The students then can access the Pathway Planner via their career tools, and there they can decide which of the pathways they are thinking about, so whether they're considering them, whether they definitely want to do them, or if they're not doing. And there is a college version of this too. And then they will then complete a quiz for each of the pathways that they were either definite about or considering. So this is a really great way of you finding out what they know about those pathways and where any information gaps may be. This generates for the students a how ready am I RAG rating. So just looking at this particular one, this student you can see is considering employment. They know a lot about employment, so that's okay. They are definitely wanting to do a vocational qualification, but clearly there are some gaps in the knowledge there that might need addressing within personal guidance. And they're considering apprenticeships, but there are some significant information gaps there. So different things perhaps that they need information on that you would then be able to help with. So this then enables you to book the level of guidance that you need to for each of your students. So you can work out those students that have the greatest level of need and give them the longer career session. Or you might decide that if you can identify a certain group of students that all have specific gaps, for example, with their knowledge about apprenticeships, you might run a group session for those rather than address that through personal guidance. So there is that flexibility. So that can all be booked here, and that sends an invitation through to the students so you can invite them along to their guidance session. And then after the guidance session, it updates on the timeline that you can see, so you can keep a track on how the students moved on as a result of their guidance session. So really great for measuring the impact. Okay, so that's given you an idea of the different areas. So what I want to do is look at specific activities for students that address some of the Gatsby benchmarks. So as I go through, they are going to be the activities that are in green from the student zone. And then I'm also going to look at resources for careers leaders. So these can be found in either the advisor zone or they're part of the reporting zone I mentioned. So we're going to start with Gatsby Benchmark 1, which is about supporting a stable careers programme. So for students, there are lots of different activities supporting different age groups, and these can be accessed through the main site, through the Start With You. So really great online tutorials showing them how to log on as well, which is also super helpful. Then for your teachers, there are a whole set of 50 to 60-minute career lessons for every year group that you can use to help your students start thinking about what's relevant for them at their particular stage. We've also got PSHE programs for every year group. So these are 5-week programs that you can consider using. And there are also some short 20-minute tutor time activities as well. So we've got some that are designed to be used with computers for students and some without. So again, just a really great way of making sure that you're getting careers activities built in across school life. So looking at Gatsby Benchmark 2, learning from careers and labour market information. For students in the student zone, there are lots of opportunities for them to look at job profiles. They can use the Careerometer to compare careers, and they can find out about jobs near where they live. So we have lots of local LMI, so they can have a look at the different types of jobs and the level of employment in that particular job in their area. And you can also see whether the job is set to grow or not over the coming years. Students can also search for courses and see LMI data about job and salary after those courses as well. And then for the teachers, we've got lots of hot jobs resources that tell students and parents about jobs that are really set to grow over the coming years and useful LMI about them. We've got sets around green jobs and also NHS, and we're in the process of developing some for digital and IT as well. So Gatsby Benchmark 3 is about addressing the needs of each pupil. So as I mentioned, students can register for their accounts, which enables them to build up a profile within their Careers Tools report. So this is a way for them to tag interests, which is really useful for you to address their specific needs. Staff, as I say, can view the reports and set up encounters to meet the needs, which they can access via the reporting zone. And as we just talked about, the Pathway Planner is obviously a fantastic way of triaging the guidance needs to meet the specific needs of your students based on the information that you have following the quizzes that they've done about their pathways. So Gatsby Benchmark 4 is about linking the curriculum through to careers. Really great tool for students is they can have a look at where a particular subject might take them. So if they're really interested in biology, there's lots of information there about jobs related to that particular subject, as well as potential courses and apprenticeships as well. So they can really see the different pathways related to that particular subject. Then for the teachers as well, we've got a set of subject-specific activities for Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5 that really support linking careers with a particular aspect of the curriculum. For Gatsby Benchmark 5, learning from encounters with employers and employees, students can view more than 1,000 videos, so lots of different videos of different employers and employees talking about their working life. They can actually also have a look at the different job sectors and look at the different qualification pathways required to get there. Students can also complete a skills profile, which I mentioned previously, which really helps them to look at what their own skill strengths are and then compare them with the skills that are needed for a specific job. They can also record on here any work encounters that they've had and any skills that they developed as a result of doing them. Staff can also view students' reports to identify their individual interests. So this is, as I mentioned previously, is a really great way of recording employer encounters and also identifying where some particular employers might be useful for groups of students. Experiences of work, which is Gatsby Benchmark 6. We've got for students lots of information about virtual work experience opportunities, and we've actually listed these by industry sector to make it useful and easy for students to find what's relevant for them. Students can also research and plan for their work experience by using the job profiles and the relevant LMI to make sure they've done their homework and their research into their particular job sector. And then teachers can deliver or share a pre-recorded lesson with Year 10 to help prepare for work experience. So that's available in the Advisor Zone. Gatsby Benchmark 7, experiences with further and higher education. So for the students themselves, there's lots of information advice on the further and higher education pathways, including their video stories as well from college and university students. So that's all really easy for them to find by looking at those specific pathways from the main homepage. They can also explore education providers and see what they offer from the search tool. And staff can access free encounters with universities, and there are also some related video stories as well, all accessible in the Advisor Zone. Lastly, Gatsby Benchmark 8, which is all about personal guidance. For the teachers here, they can use the Career Tools report to inform their guidance. So as we said, we can see what the students are interested in and help to use that to inform the guidance that they're given. And they can also log how that guidance session goes by feeding into the reports that we have as part of the Careerpilot tool, and just setting some actions with the students, which you can come back to revisit at subsequent guidance sessions. And then, of course, as we mentioned, the Careerpilot Pathway Plan is a fantastic tool for actually specifically allocating the level of guidance needed for specific students. Okay, so hopefully there's lots of ideas there on specific activities that you can do to meet each of the Gatsby benchmarks. I just wanted to explain a little bit about the funding for schools before I finish. So just to make it clear that if your school is within the dark green area that you can see here in the southwest, then you have a fully funded Careerpilot programme. That means that you can access all 4 zones. There's free training and you can have access to all of the resources. All you need to make sure that you've done is that you've contacted us to set up your access to the reporting zone. So you need to complete a data sharing agreement and we'll make sure that's set up for you so you have the password to get into that. As I mentioned, the Pathway Planner tool is separate, so that would be purchased as a separate entity and then would be added to your free funded account. For schools that are outside of the free-to-use area, they would need to subscribe to get access to all 4 zones. You'll find when you go on to Careerpilot, there are some areas that are fully accessible for all, and then there are some areas that are locked and for only those that are subscribing. So to subscribe, you can see the costs here are different for mainstream schools and colleges, and there are separate costs as well for SEND schools, but that would be sort of on a case-by-case depending on the size of the school. And you can also include the Pathway Planner, you can see, as part of the overall package. Okay, so if you want to find out more about subscribing, setting up access to the reporting zone or adding Pathway Planner, please contact our helpline or our email address. I shall leave this up here. We'd be happy to help you out. The helpline for Careerpilot is open, school hours, term time. So do feel free to contact us and we'd be really happy to help. Thank you, and I hope you found that useful.